What is going on? And welcome to week 6 in the NFL. We are talking DFS tonight, daily fantasy sports, of course, for DraftKings. We have a great guest coming on tonight. He's a first-time guest coming on the show. Of course, we're going to give you, as always, our top plays, our values, our stacks. This slate is it's got a bunch of high total games, something that we haven't seen much of so far this season. But we got 4 games hovering around that 50-point mark, which we love. And of course, we'll be giving our sick calls out as well. So hang tight.
Going for 2, kickers are extra, I give them the boot. Ooh, going for 2, sit back, relax while I grab me a brew. Ooh, now I'm reclining while putting my time and I'm ready to go. My spine is aligning and much my lineups, my bank account grow. I am so rich, but knowledge is all that I'm leaving it with. Ooh, listen to this, multiple options, how far can I get? Ooh, DFS Dynasty redraft tonight, I'm not finishing last. I'm finishing past, any and all I am looking to last. What else? This spot is popping and I am so locked in and only opening the door when it is opportunity knocking. And all of these spots keep on talking and talking, so what are we talking? What kind of alignment and running it deep, even players forgotten or came from the bottom or hitting that top end. And this spot is popping, yeah, this spot is popping and woo! This is the armchair, yeah. Put up your arms, yeah. Sound the alarm, yeah, yeah, yeah. Ooh.
What is going on? And welcome to episode 398 of the Armchair Fantasy Show. I am your host, of course, Geoff Lambert. Follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. Of course, we're part of the GoingFor2 Live Podcast Network. You can find us here every Friday night at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're on Facebook Live. We're on Twitch. We're on YouTube. Of course, we're at GoingFor2.com and also syndicated in all major podcast networks. I see people in the chat already popping in there, so I appreciate y'all jumping in. If you are watching us on YouTube, please hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already. That really helps us out a ton. And you heard me say episode 398. For those of y'all that know how this show works, you know, we do a Wednesday season-long show, and then we have our DFS show on Friday. So this time next week will be our 400th episode. So make sure you are tuning in for that. We have a great guest, or one of Gerson's favorite guests to have on the show.
Well, I won't be here. I won't be here next week. I'm out.
So yeah, make sure you check out our 400th episode. But it is 398, and we have a great slate tonight, and we have a great guest tonight as well. First time on the show, Mr. Josh Shepherdson. You could find him at FantasyPros. You could find him at Betting Pros. And you can find him at Props US, and of course, you can follow him on Twitter at bchad50. What's up, Josh?
Hey, not too much. Just looking forward to chopping it up about week 6. I feeling some good vibes and loving those high totals like you highlighted in the intro, man. Like, it's just exciting to see a 5 in the first number column for the game totals here and a few games. So I'm looking forward to I think a vast array of ways to attack this slate. It's nice when it's not all just centralized on one outlier total. So
Yep.
Should be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I was talking to a friend of mine pre-show, and he was talking about this is a tournament type week, right? We got all these high total games. This is when you're playing those GPPs. You love this because there's all kinds of games you can stack and mix it up and get different. So yeah, absolutely. Of course, I'm here with my co-host as always. First up, we got Mr. Tim at Keto DFS on Twitter. What's up, Tim? Oh, Tim, you're on mute. Nope.
Still on mute.
I think you're still on mute. You must have hit it. You hit it twice. It's all right. Well, we'll go to Gerson. Gerson, what's up, man? Gerson's pretending.
So what's up, dude? Yeah, man. Week 6, baby. I mean, I feel like well, everybody knows I play fantasy football. We're already halfway through the season in fantasy football, so it's like going by so fast. But I'm excited. I think this week's very interesting. There's a lot of games that are high total, which is kind of shocking because recently, in the last 4 weeks, we've only had like one game that's always one high total. But it's gonna be a fun slate. I'm pretty pumped. I think value is a little hard to come by, but we'll see if we can get some out of all of us together. Maybe we can come together and find hope.
All right, Tim tells me he is not on mute. He's just having issues with his mic, I guess, or his inputs. I don't know.
Speak louder. We can't hear you.
Maybe leave and come back, Tim. I don't know what's going on. We can't hear you on this end. Check your settings at the bottom corner there. We should have sound checked Tim before we went live there. I don't know. We didn't do that for some reason. so maybe log back out, Tim, and then come back in. We'll be waiting for you when you get back. All right. As always, guys, today's show is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Check out their best ball leagues, huge tournaments, private leagues, and pick'ems for all major sports. Sign up using our promo code GF2. You get bonus bucks up to. Oh, there we go. I think we heard you this time, Tim. Are you there, Tim?
Yeah, you got me. We good?
Yeah, we are good now. I don't know what you did, but perfect. We are good now. Sign up using our promo code GF2. Get bonus bucks up to $1,000. As simple as that. Use promo code GF2. Get the app for Underdog and start betting some pick'ems there. We've been hot on my Wednesday show. We do a pick'em of the week, and we've won. I think 4 out of the 5 weeks we've actually won. So make sure you check that out as well. Tim, man, it's finally good to hear you. So. Welcome to
the man. I was just saying I agree with you guys. I love this slate. I can't wait to break it down.
Good stuff. And that's the price of being live, right? We always have some technical issues every now and then, but all right, let's go ahead and jump into the weekly rewind.
The weekly rewind. Rewind.
All right, so we do a one good, one bad from our previous week, Josh. So why don't you kick us off here and give us your one good and one bad?
Well, I like saving the best news for last, so let's jump right into Dontavian Wicks letting me down massively last week. The target share was there, but unfortunately the drops were 2. It was brutal. Thankfully, I had some other players step up to save my bacon, especially my hit of the week last week, Darius Slayton, one of the very few GPP rosters I didn't have Wicks on. I used Jacobs in my RB2 spot and used Slayton as a bring back from Kenneth Walker, and that was enough to save my bacon last week. So, I mean, Slayton blowing up and Wicks letting me down, but all in all, it ended up being a slight winning week.
Good deal. Yeah, any week that you're winning is a good week in DFS. Gerson, what'd you have for your one good, one bad?
Yeah, my one good was my boy, my locker of the week, Tyrone Tracy. Not Amir Abdullah, like someone I know in my chat. But no, Tyrone Tracy, man. The guy, I think he got lucky, though. I'll be honest on that. If Eric Gray didn't fumble, I think they were just going to roll with him. But once he fumbled, Tyrone Tracy got like all the usage. But it's like kind of what I said, though. He was fast. He was elusive. He can catch the ball. He did a little bit of everything. But, I mean, the price, the ownership was kind of shocking to me. It was only like 14%, I believe, or 12%. Yeah. I was like, oh, cool. I guess I was a little different there. My bad was massage boy Deshaun Watson. You know, never gonna touch that guy ever again. Oop, no pun intended on that one.
No Diddy.
Yeah, no Diddy. But yeah, I mean, Deshaun Watson totally killed me. I had a couple shares of him. Well, not a couple, quite a few shares of him on my GPP roster. But we move on. You know, never playing that guy again.
Yeah, I think Deshaun Watson is off limits until further notice, maybe forever. Tim, what about?
Yeah, I'm going to copy Josh tonight, man. My one good was my sick call of the week, Slatron. I had him in my one Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow stack, but unfortunately, my one bad was that it also had Packers in it. So last week I was all in on Green Bay, and obviously that did not work out for me. So, yeah. But I will give you a little hint for the rest of the show. Whenever I end up stacking a team I hate, I usually do well, and it looks like it's another one of those slates.
Hey, right. Can I say something else?
Go ahead.
Because I'm not gonna be able to say it. But hey, shout out to last week's podcast. I did a roster in the Millie Maker with all of our plays, and it cashed, and it did very well. So like I did the lock of the week. I did Tim's sick call. Yep. I did the stacks. I did everything I could to make it look like a show one. So hopefully we can go. I'm gonna start building it while we're doing it, guys. So
let's go. Love it. All right, I'll kick it off with my one bad because I know on that roster that Gerson's talking about, this was the guy he put in for me. My lock of the week was bad. It was DK Metcalf. You know, he had the best matchup on the week according to FTN. Did not quite go the way that I thought it would. That game in general didn't go the way I thought it would go. It was just an ugly game overall for the Seahawks. So DK Metcalf was a bust for me. But luckily, almost every roster that I had DK Metcalf in, I also put Brian Thomas Jr., who absolutely smashed.
Yeah.
I was all over BTJ last week. I actually, in my home dynasty league, I made a monster trade to get BTJ before his monster game. So that paid off as well. So I was all in on BTJ last week. And it paid off quite handsomely for me. So that was
I should have put my one bad as listening to the weather, because Sunday morning I saw that there was a storm in Jacksonville, and I was like, "Oh crap! I got to get all my players out of that game." That did not work out.
Yeah, it didn't
at
work
all.
out.
Come on, man.
I know. I got.
All right, let's get to the quarterbacks.
Let's talk quarterbacks.
All right, Tim, why don't we start with you here? Give me one of your favorite plays at quarterback this week.
Oh, man. Well, we're starting at the top. All right. Well, I mentioned I'm going to be stacking a team I hate this week, and that is the Dallas Cowboys. So I'm starting right at the top with Dak Prescott. Gets a home matchup against the Detroit Lions, which are a very obvious pass funnel, one of the highest over-unders on the week. Dak is a much better quarterback at home as opposed to on the road. So I think this sets up as a great spot for him. And I think the other guys are going to be a lot of people are going to be paying up at quarterback this week, or a little hint for later, paying all the way down.
Yeah, all the way.
Oh, yeah.
Josh, what do you got for one of your favorite calls here for quarterback?
Well, I'll just say that I second the Dak call, elaborating a little further on that pass funnel. According to RotoViz's Pace app, Detroit's tied for the second highest situation neutral pass rate against them this year at 64%. And I mean, Prescott's averaged over 300 passing yards per game at home since last year. So absolutely love that call. I mean, I'm not going to reinvent the wheel here. I'm going to say that I like Jaden Daniels against the team giving up the most passing yards per game this season. So,
yeah.
And I mean, you got to love his designed run opportunities this year. According to Pro Football Focus, he's had 56 designed runs this year. And I mean, obviously he's a threat to scramble as well. So obviously that elevates the floor and the ceiling for him, making him a great play in all game types this week.
Absolutely. I love that spot there for him.
Yeah.
Gerson, what you got for your favorite call here?
Yeah, I mean, early on, I think, I can't remember if it was Geoff or Tim that said it, but like the whole Green Bay stack didn't really work out. But if you it actually did. If you didn't hit Wick.
Yeah.
I mean, Wick was the only one that did bad, really. Love, Reed, and Kraft. And it's kind of crazy because in order for me to make that main roster that I had for the show, I had to make it work and put Kraft in there. But so I'm going back to Green Bay. I mean, last week, hopefully people were like, "Oh, they burned me. You know, they sucked. You know, like they Wick is not good. He can't catch anything. Heck, man, he could have catched eight if a girl gave it to him. You know." But no, I'm going to go back to it. Jordan Love, 6,700. I mean, it's 26.5 total, team total. You know, that's pretty high at home versus what? Like they're probably like the second worst. No, they are the worst secondary in football for sure. But I don't think it'll be shock either. I mean, I think it's going to be a little lower owned than all the other one. Everybody's looking at all those other games. I want to get an under the radar play. I said I'm going to go with Jordan Love. Dude, this guy, when he like has all his weapons, he lights out too. I mean, 292 yards. I mean, every single time they win. So I'm going back to that. Hopefully it goes off. And like I said, all these quarterbacks are pretty chalk, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, there's another one that's pretty chalk that I have. I'm just going to mention him because I think he's pretty chalk and he's pretty easy to click on. I know he's the highest priced quarterback, I believe, at 7.8. Lamar Jackson in that same game with the Commanders there. So you got Jaden Daniels on one side, Lamar Jackson on the other side. High total game. I think it's 52.5 the last I looked at it. And, you know, Washington has been a absolute abomination on defense. So I expect Lamar Jackson to have a very good game. But I also have CJ Stroud. I think he's going to be a little bit lower owned. England's 28th versus the past DVOA. And they're going to have more condensed targets this week. I think Nico Collins is going to be out. So I think that the stacking options are going to be nice for Stroud as well. And, you know, I think they're 4-2 or 3-2? I forget what they exactly are, but they haven't had that really really good game yet. Like the games we saw last year with them, I think this could be that spot where they blow up, and it's Stroud at 7K with a little bit lower ownership. I think is one of my favorite quarterbacks on the slate this week. Let's move down into the salary savers. Tim, who you got for your salary saver? You want to talk about the all the way down guy, or you want to talk about the other one?
No, I don't want to skip over Kirk Cousins because I think he's low-key one of my favorite plays on the slate. I think when most people looked at this slate, they saw, oh, Atlanta's playing Carolina. That means you play the running backs. But if you look at it, Atlanta has actually had a pass rate over expectation in each of the last 3 weeks, and Kirk Cousins threw the ball over 50 times last week against Tampa Bay. This has slowly become a passing team and not so much a running team. And so I'm huge on Kirk this week. We'll talk about it when we get later in the show, but I am not buying Bijan this week. I am going to go the other way and play Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, I actually didn't even see Kirk on your favorite plays there. I almost missed him. So, Gerson, why don't you kick us off with the salary savers then? Give us your favorite salary saver quarterback.
I'm not talking to Tim the rest of the show. So I'm just gonna get like the cat out of the bag or whatever they call it. It's not my favorite play, okay, but it's the play that everybody's gonna talk about, so I want to talk about it.
Yep.
Spencer Rattler, 4,000. Okay, I get it. I'm just gonna say the negative stuff. His line is injured. He's a third string quarterback. Came up. I mean, he's a rookie. The guy went on a quarterback show on Netflix, and he had bad personality. I mean, I can tell you that he doesn't know how to walk his dog. Doesn't have a leash on him. I can tell you all the bad things. But the fact is that he's $4,000. It allows you to do a lot of things with your roster. If we remember correctly, last year Aiden O'Connell was 4,000. He ended up getting 12.6 points that week. All you needed was 3x. In that week, a lot of players went off. So you cashed. This week, we're talking about a lot of stacks. And if you go look at those stacks, they have a lot of high-priced players that can go off. Yep. So you're not going to stack them. Forget about that. He's going to be a naked quarterback. In case some of you guys don't know what naked quarterback it is, there's just no stack with him. He's not really naked, guys. Okay, relax. But 4,000. I'm gonna go down on the bottom of the barrel, but I do want to touch on the other cheap guy. Will Levis is the guy I have. I know it's gonna be kind of random. 4.8K going against a really bad pass defense. I think he can take advantage of this one. Mm-hmm. Calvin Ridley against this defense, the way they've covered the wide receivers, he can win over the top. He has one of the best matchups.
They haven't covered.
Yeah. They had one of the best matchups, and I think they're going to make a game plan. Obviously, they had a bye week, so I think Will Levis on a stack with him, and you can get cheap, and I wouldn't go double stack, though. I just go just a single. And then probably bring it back with one of the other wide receivers on the other side. But yeah,
I like that.
I actually like that call. I would much rather go Will Levis than Spencer Rattler. I was doing some research. Not only was he terrible in the preseason against backups, but he averaged 1.4 yards per carry in college rushing the ball. So he has no running upside at all. He is a pocket quarterback, and you just got to hope he throws – like Gerson said, a couple touchdowns because he's getting you nothing with his legs.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to jump in real quick and say that as far as the Ridley talk, I like that call. I want to say it was Coach Speak Index that shared some press conference clips from Callahan talking about needing to get him some more design touches, maybe even some intermediate and shorter ones just to get the ball in his hands and let him use his speed. And I mean, this is the perfect get right matchup for Ridley in that passing attack. And like Gerson said, they're coming out of the bye. This is the time to put together a performance. So I'll second that. I'd definitely rather use Levis than Spencer Rattler. But I mean, a $4,000 salary quarterback, they just don't exist usually. So the appeal is definitely understandable. I mean, I get it for sure. The bar is so low for that 3X. So
100%. You got a guy that none of us had on our list, Josh. Talk about your guy.
I mean, we talked about this game, but I'm going to take it from the other side and say the Red Rifle, man. Andy Dalton at 5.2K. He's got 2 starts with over 300 passing yards and 4 opportunities for the Panthers since last year. and he's thrown for multiple touchdowns in 3 of those starts. I mean, I like the value that a number of his pass catchers provide, including my forthcoming sick call much later in the show. But I'll get that tease in there now. But I mean, there's some salary savers in that group. I think that game's got some shootout potential, and the Red Rifle's not shy about letting it go. So I mean, he feeds his receivers, and I like the price tag there. And as you guys have said, there are some huge salary players that have absolutely rupture spot potential, and you got to save money somewhere. If you can get 3 times value from Dalton and maybe one of his pass catchers and jam in a bunch of high price studs, that's a recipe for a blow up week.
Yeah. I love that call. So I got a guy on my list that's not exactly cleared yet. We haven't heard if he's going to play yet. I know everybody wants to play the passing options when Flacco is the quarterback. Anthony Richardson at 6,000 if he is in there. I don't know how often I'll be clicking his name.
Well,
He's a
they said that they said what's his name? I think Chester or someone. They reported that he's leaning there. He's likely to play.
He is
I saw he is likely to play.
So yeah, he should be in there at 6,000. He still offers that rushing upside. I know we haven't really seen it much, but it is still there if you wanted to click his name at 6,000. And then Tim, you had one more rushing quarterback that doesn't offer a whole lot of upside, but has been decent so far this year.
Yeah, Justin Fields is playing for his job, man. It's as easy as that. He gets a matchup against the Raiders indoors, where I think he's usually better running the ball, and that's what you're really hoping for, right? He's only going to get you probably 1 touchdown through the air, but you're hoping he gets you 60, 70 yards and a touchdown on the ground. So going into today, there was not a lot of value on this slate, and so I think paying down at quarterback was more of a legitimate option, and then some value opened up today to where I think you can get into a little better build.
Agreed.
So I'm probably not going that route.
Agreed. All right, let's get to the tight ends.
Did somebody say tight ends?
All right, Josh, why don't you kick us off here? Give us your favorite play at tight end here.
I mean, we're talking about saving salary, so I'll go down to the cheap end of the pool and say Zach Ertz. I mean, the guy's just the mainstay on the field. He's running routes. You're getting attachment to the highest game total, or second highest, I believe, on the slate. I don't remember who's leading between the Cowboys game. But, I mean, the raw participation's there. He's second in seemingly every meaningful stat on the Commanders for pass catchers. And while they're rotating their receivers behind McLaurin, Ertz is out there. I mean, he's iced out Benson so far this season. Bates is out there occasionally, but he's more of a blocker. So you're not looking for much from Ertz at 3,700. If he falls in the end zone, sweet. If he doesn't and he gets a couple PPR scam grabs and we get something like a 3 for 40, like so be it. I'll take that because I don't see a lot of huge difference makers on this slate. So you're basically just looking to avoid that salary landmine up top and get anything from your cheap tight end. And I think that's the best way to go, especially from a one-off. I mean, there's some other guys from stacking perspectives, which I'll let, whoever needs to get into that. But we'll say from that group, I'm eyeing Zach Ertz pretty hard.
Zach Ertz is a good call. I like that one. Yeah, people are on the rookie there pretty early on, and it's been Zach Ertz, right? He keeps just going places and being viable in DFS for some reason. So, all right, Gerson, what do you got for one of your favorite tight end plays this week?
He's pretty sharp. As you guys saw, my tight end list wasn't very big. It was just 2 guys. So Jake Ferguson, we're going to target a lot of players in this game. Detroit versus the Cowboys. Ferguson, shockingly, like when I looked this up, he is second in first week target, 23, and that's playing 1 less game than Brock Bowers, which is number 1. Over his last 11 games, averaged 7.8 targets per game and almost 14 fantasy points per game. So I want production, especially at the tight end position where it's been like brutal this year. This game environment sets up perfectly for him too. He's going to get peppered with target. I can honestly see Dak throwing 50 passes in this game. Like they're not going to run the ball. Ricky Dowdle or Dowie or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, by the way, Jerry Jones, you're a clown, dude. About to comment on Zeke, dude. Yeah, dude, you're getting old, dude.
Yeah, I gotta say one thing about. Oh, go ahead, Gerson. Sorry.
Yeah, but Ferguson's my guy. 5,000 mid share price. I'm gonna stack him with Dak and just he's gonna get peppered with. I mean, his percentage of target share, 20% for a tight end, is incredible too.
Good.
So give me Jake Ferguson for sure.
Love it.
Yep.
So what I was going to say is I like the Jake Ferguson call, but I think this is one of the best leverage spots in the entire slate. He is going to be the most chalky tight end, and chalky tight ends have not paid off this season. So I think for me, I'm going to probably play him in cash just as a block, but I think in tournaments, I'm going to be way underweight on Jake Ferguson because there's a really good chance he puts up 6 for 43 and gets outdone by Zach Ertz. So
yeah,
he is definitely not my fade of the week. We'll get to that later, but he's up there, man. I feel a little sketched out. I'm going to play McBreezy, baby, Trey McBride. The Packers have given up a touchdown to a tight end in basically every game, and I don't see why that's going to stop here. As I just mentioned, everybody's going to play Ferguson at $5K. You find $700 and you get up to a tight end nobody is going to be playing. So I'm going to agree with Bink King in the chat. Pay up to be contrarian at tight end or pay all the way down.
Yeah, I love it. I just had one more tight end to talk about, Dalton Schultz for Houston. Obviously, he talked about Nico Collins being out. Those targets will get spread out, I think, between the three receivers, Diggs, Tank Dell, and Schultz will pick up some extra targets. He's had at least 5 targets in the last 3 games. Just the yards and touchdowns haven't been there. But I think he can get into the end zone. New England is ranked 28th DVOA versus the tight end. So I do think that Schultz has a pretty good game at 4.1. He's cheaper than those guys that we just talked about. So I do like Schultz a lot in this week's slate. I'll just mention Tucker Kraft. Gerson and Tim both had Tucker Kraft in their favorite plays, and Josh had Isaiah Likely as well. But Tim, you have another salary saver down there I want you to talk about.
Yeah, I mentioned a minute ago, this is a gross slate in terms of value in a lot of ways, and there are a lot of players that you want to pay up for. So if you're going to pivot off of Ferguson, I like paying all the way down. If I'm not playing Ertz, I'm playing Kate Otten. I know It's kind of a weird week to say that, but you're looking for somebody that's going to get you that same 6 for 60 and not have a 5K price tag.
Yep. I just had one other name down there, and I put a question mark next to his name because I'm not quite sure I still want to play him yet. But Mark Andrews versus the Commanders at 3.9. This is the cheapest he's ever been, I believe. The Commanders ranked 27th DVOA versus the tight end. He had his highest receptions and targets, or at least matched it last week. So we hope maybe he's going.
Yeah, so did Charlie Kolar, though.
Yes.
So like,
no. I know it's scary to click his name. It's just when you see Mark Andrews that far down the list, you're like, what? Something must be wrong. But yeah. I'm a little nervous.
He also shouldn't be allowed to be number 88. Shout out to Jared last week who had the chase stack with Andrews coming back, thinking that Charlie Kolar touchdown was Mark Andrews. Man. That one hurt.
Yeah,
that one hurt.
All right, let's go ahead and jump into the money positions now. Running back.
It's time for running backs. Running backs.
All right, Tim, I'll let you kick this one off here because we got 2 locks of the week at the running back position, so we'll let you go first.
We do. I mentioned it a minute ago. This is a slate where you want to pay up for your studs. One of them we're going to talk about here in a minute, but the other one I really like this week is Saquon Barkley. I think that this sets up as a really good spot because Cleveland has basically become a run funnel. And so I do expect that Philadelphia is going to lean heavily on Saquon here. But one thing people may not know is they also give up a lot of receptions to running backs. And I think that that's how they're going to win this game. I see him getting 20 plus touches. And honestly, we talked about Watson at the top. He's not going to put up any kind of a fight here, or at least I don't expect to. So I think it's going to be the Saquon show for 3 quarters.
Yeah, love it. That's a good call. All right, let's get to the first lock of the week.
Lock it in.
All right, Gerson, why don't you take it away here?
Wait, I want to hear why Tim wants to bash on this guy.
No, you go first.
Oh, okay. Yeah, B. John Robinson, man. Yeah, I get it. Okay, Tim, here it is. I feel like 8 Miles. Like I know what you're gonna say. Like your rap battle right here. Yeah. So then with Tyler Algier, yes, he gets usage. Yes, Bijan Robinson hasn't been productive. Yes, maybe Arthur Smith was onto something. Blah blah blah. I don't care, dude. He's still getting 64% of snap. He draws the best matchup against the Panthers. 25th in EPA against the run and dead last in fantasy points allowed to running back. I mean, if there's a spot that he's gonna hit, it's got to be this one. Implied total, and then also the 6.5 last time I checked. I mean, it's gonna be favored, and his price is not cheap. It's not expensive. It's not gonna kill your roster. That's the biggest thing I love about Bijan is his price. 6,800 for a running back that could possibly get you a touchdown through the passing game and the direction game. I mean, this is make or break. I get it, but 6,800, man, that price looks good. And hey, facing the Panthers, man, it's the Panthers.
It's the Panthers. Yep. Real quick, we have a season-long question in the chat that I just wanted to ask you. I know everybody here plays season-long, so we'll go ahead and take a second here and answer Andrew Burrell's question. He says, who does he start? Singletary, Tyrone Tracy. I'm assuming that it says Tyrone Taylor, but I'm assuming that's Tyrone Tracy, or Antonio Gibson if Cook is out. Who are you going with here, Tim?
Oh, switch it on me.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, man. I don't like Gibson, so I would go the other route, whichever one starts.
Whichever one starts out of those. What about you?
Single carry.
Josh?
I agree. I would stick with the Singletary, Tyrone Tracy, whoever's starting. The fact that they have both guys gives them the opportunity to wait it out, and that also gives them a little longer to see if the Bills leak their, show their cards whether Cook is going to be ruled out or playing. So you lock in Gibson and find out that Cook's going to be suiting up. You're going to be pretty peeved that you got Gibson in there. So
I want you to know
longer and go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I want you to know Geoff just stepped on my attempt to just totally take over the show with an 8-mile rap battle as a response to Gerson. So, yeah. But just to make it real quick, Saquon is not right. He is injured, and they are trying to downplay it. It started off as a shoulder injury, and now he's got a hamstring injury. I think Saquon's operating at 60, 70%, and that's why they've gone so pass heavy. Teams will not come out and say a player is injured, but their actions will tell you. They've been giving Tyler Algier more work, and they've been passing the ball more. So that tells me I am concerned. He's going to get 15 touches, but he could give you 15 for 60 and then 3 for 30, and I'm worried that that's what Bijan's going to give you this week. He's going to give me a 12, and that scares the shit out of me, just to be honest.
Yeah, whatever you say, Papa Doc. Get out of here.
All right, and you said Saquon to start that. You meant Bijan, obviously.
I did. Yeah, I meant Bijan.
But yeah, you meant Bijan. All right, we got a little bit off the rails there. Let's get back to another lock of the week here.
Lock it in.
And Josh, you don't know this, but this guy has his own drop. So I'm going to go
He does have his own drop.
Double drop this one here.
I believe I heard it last week.
Yeah. The King Henry drop. All right, Josh, take it away here.
I mean, when you can get the league's leading rusher against a defense that's coughed up 116.2 rushing yards per game at 5.3 yards per carry to running backs, it's pretty straightforward. And I mean, look at what the Ravens did when they faced soft run defenses against the Cowboys and the Bills. They just fed the man. And with the positive game script projected, the biggest concern is that this game gets off the rails with a turnover score for Washington, something to put them ahead where they can't be in a neutral game script. But I don't care about that, especially in GPPs. You want that King Henry ceiling against a soft run defense. I mean, he has slate breaking potential, and that's all you can ask for from somebody at his salary. You're getting everything you want.
Yeah, I love that call.
So I want to add one thing here, if you don't mind. John Harbaugh does not lose to rookie quarterbacks. It's historically, he does not do it. They will find a way to shut down Jaden Daniels in this game and make it the King Henry show. 150 yards and 2 touchdowns incoming. Find a way to get to King Henry.
Yeah, I love it. Good call. All right, I'm going to talk about a guy that was on a bye last week, so we may have forgotten about how good this guy was. Jahmyr Gibbs at Dallas at 7,000. Dallas is 31st ranked DVOA versus the run. They give the 6th most points to running backs, and of course, this is tied for the highest game total And the good thing about Gibbs is he's game script proof, right? If they get down, he's still in the game because he can catch passes out of the backfield. So at $7,000, we talk about all these other guys that we like here. I do think Gibbs will get somewhat overlooked, but he's one of my top plays this week for sure. We still got a bunch of guys to talk about. Why don't we go back through one more time, Gerson? Give me another one of your guys.
Well, just repeat everything Jeff said, but just add Montgomery to that.
Yeah.
I mean, he's on the other side. But here's the thing: like, I think Gibb is good for the catch up game if they have to catch up. But Monty is good for if the defense somehow forces turnover and they get ahead, they're just going to run the ball with him, and then he'll be able to get to the goal line touches. But either way, I mean, I will say this though about the Gibb and Montgomery. I don't know if I see a 30-point game stealing out of these guys.
Sure.
Because they share so much production.
Yeah.
And at the price you're paying, you want a 30-point ceiling,
Yeah.
I mean, but that's just my opinion. I'm going to have a lot of shares of both of them. So it'll be fun. That game's going to be so much fun to watch.
Yeah. It's really funny to me that Montgomery is like the lower owned one because I feel like he's the cash play and Gibbs is the GPP play, but their ownerships look the other way. Sorry, I'm gonna take what I consider the free square of the slate, and that's Bucky Irving. This was the in my opinion, it wasn't as good as Tyrone Tracy last week where it was like 4,300 and you're just like you just plug it in and go from there, but it's as close to that as I think we're gonna get on this slate, man. I have him projected very similarly to a lot of the guys in the 6K range, and he's 5,400. So, there are not many free squares anymore. If you don't want to play Spencer Rattler, I think one of the only ways you can do it kind of optimally and get to a Derrick Henry or a guy we're going to talk about here in a minute is you play Bucky Irving.
Yeah, it's a good call.
So Rashad White is out then?
He's doubtful.
He's doubtful.
He's doubtful, yeah.
Yeah, he's doubtful.
Oh, that's why it makes more sense now. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah. I had Bucky in my salary savers on Wednesday before the news came out, and then once I heard that he was doubtful, I was like, "Oh yeah, Bucky Irving."
Yeah. I mean, he's been averaging 5.6 yards per carry.
Yeah.
I mean, even if he has 15, 16 touches, like he looks like an absolute smash play.
Man, and Bucky.
It was exactly what we needed too, man. On this slate, dude, I was making some uncomfortable lineups, man.
And you gotta love the way that Bucky's getting his efficient yards per carry. He's in the top 15 in yards before contact and after contact. So it's not like he's just getting light boxes and gashing. Dude is just balling out. And I mean, even at the slighter frame, you figure he's probably a lock for 15 touches. Even if Tucker mixes in and gets some of the between the tackle stuff. And I mean, the fact that the Saints are a pass funnel defense could be a plus because if he's getting some of these cheap receptions at DraftKings, you're loving that full point per reception. And it's not as if the Saints are good against running backs. They're giving up almost 4.7 yards per carry to them. So it's just a matter of they've been more beatable through the air. So teams are taking that approach. But I mean, Bucky, like you said, bingo square, man.
Agreed.
To add to the Bucky call, you can actually stack it with Tampa Bay defense too.
Oh yeah. Hey.
Oh yeah, that's sexy.
The old 8K stack between the running back and defense. My goodness, you gotta love it.
Love it. You have a guy, Josh, that when I first saw on your sheet, I was kind of like, I don't know, and then I saw that he was one of the more higher owned guys.
He is, yeah.
I assume we're talking Tony Pollard here in the salary savers. Yeah, I mean, coming out of the bye, I was surprised to see it. Like, I knew he'd taken the lead in that backfield, but he's had 69.3% of the backfield's touches, and he's even out-routed Tyjae Spears. According to Pro Football Focus, he's run 70 routes versus 49 for Spears. So, I mean, he's basically got the modern-day feature back role. It's not the bell cow role, but it's good enough against a Colts defense that is beatable in every which way. And if you're asking me which way the Titans would prefer to beat them, it's going to be on the ground with Pollard and not letting human turnover machine Will Levis, throw picks and do dumb things out there. So I think at his salary, he's going to be slightly overlooked probably. And I liked the idea of stacking him with another cheap defense a lot more when it looked like the Colts were going to be the walking wounded. But if Richardson's back out there, he's been prone to bad mistakes and he takes some sacks. So I still think it's another interesting, cheap way to stack a running back and defense, especially with the chalk that Bucky Irving and the Bucs defense will be.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I have one last guy to talk about. I mentioned him last week because we thought that Ramondre Stevenson had lost his starting job. He lost it basically in name only.
Oh,
He was
that one hurt me too.
fine.
Same.
Yeah, but this week Ramondre Stevenson has been ruled out, so there's no question that he is not
There's no
playing at
chance.
all.
Yeah.
So Antonio Gibson at 5.3, and what I put down, I know Houston's a tough defense, and they have the highest pressure rate in the NFL, and they're gonna, I think they rushed or they blitzed Caleb Williams on like 46% of their snaps in that game. So they're probably gonna do something very similar in this game, another rookie quarterback. But I think check down city. I think Antonio Gibson becomes that check down option at 5.3. He's going to catch a bunch of little short dink drop offs. So I think he's definitely viable at 5.3 as a pivot off of some of the more chalkier plays down here.
Sure.
All right, let's get to the wide receivers.
And now, wide receivers.
All right, as usual, Gerson has filled out the entire sheet with wide receivers. So Gerson, close your eyes and pick one of your receivers to talk about.
Dude, there is like you extended it. There's like 8. So I went. I got you 8 plays. Okay. I'm gonna talk about Jaden Reed. I talked about Jordan Love. Jaden Reed. This guy is. I always knew he was talented, but I didn't think he was this talented. I mean, it was. I swear it was within like 10 minutes. One play, Nico Collins had a 70-yard touchdown, and next play, Jaden Reed had it. What was it, like a 47-yard? But I mean, the guy is just so athletic. I can't say that word. Really gifted. But 7K. I get. I'm on GB for that price for what I'm trying to do for my structure.
Yeah.
I can't fit that into this deck, obviously. So like, I'm gonna have to pay. I'm gonna live and die in the mid-tier range. So give me Reed that matchup at home in probably total 26.5. Reed's gonna get a lot of volume, and the whole drama about Romeo Job and all that stuff. I mean, that seems a little weird, but I don't know if you guys know him, but his name Kurt Kepnick or something like. He's like a former quarterback for the Packers.
Yep.
Apparently, all the stuff about like him and everything being like mental illness and all that, it's not true. What really happened from what he heard is that he had argument with with like playing time. He wants to be more part of the offense, and so I mean, Reed there, Dubs there. We don't know who's gonna get it, but I know for sure Reed's gonna get his stuff, his usage. Yeah. So I love Reed in this game. I'm gonna have a lot of him.
Yeah, I love that call, and I had to pull it up real quick. Season-long numbers, I know, but you know it does correlate to this in this sense. So top receivers so far, fantasy points on the year: Jamar Chase is number 1, Nico Collins is number 2, Justin Jefferson is number 3, number 4, Jaden Reed. It's kind of crazy to think about how good he's actually been. And he's what you said he's 7K. Yeah, I mean he's a monster this year. So great call on Jaden Reed for sure. Josh, what you got for one of your favorite receivers here?
I'll not get too off the rails. We'll go with CeeDee Lamb and say that the pass volume is going to be there. It's a pass funnel defense, and we know that Dak locks in on Lamb at times. I mean, there are only so many high salary players we can squeeze into a lineup, but fortunately, we do have some nice salary savers to make this work. It's why a guy like Bucky Irving's so critical. It's why some of our sick calls are going to be so critical this week. But I think that Lamb is rounding into form. I mean, you have to remember he had that contract dispute, so it's not that shocking that he hasn't had a blow-up game yet. It does feel like this is a good opportunity, especially since the Lions are peppered in the slot, and Lamb does have a fairly high slot rate for a number 1 receiver. When you usually think of the number 1 receivers, they're the X's, they're the guys on the outside. But Lamb gets to kick into the slot and get and feast with those two-way goes and some opportunities from in there. So the ceiling's there for, again, another slate-breaking ceiling, which we've said about numerous players on the slate, but Lamb is in that bucket.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. And I had this drop queued up here because I know y'all seen the stare down that he had in the last game. Now, some new news has come out, and he's actually said what he actually was saying to Dak, and it wasn't as bad as it looked, but I wanted to put the drop anyway. It's the squeaky wheel. The squeaky
Yeah.
wheel does get greased. I think CeeDee Lamb is going to be peppered quite a bit this week with all this hubbub about the quote-unquote stare down. I don't know if y'all saw what he actually said, but he was just telling Dak just to throw it up, get it up higher, throw the ball higher, because I guess the cornerback was short, but it looked really bad in slow motion when he was staring down Dak. It looked like he was angry at him, so I wanted to just hit that drop.
There you go.
All right, Tim, do one of yours, and then I'm going to hit my lock of the week.
All right. Before I do, I don't think anyone has this player. So shout out to Mickey in the chat with AJ Brown. I was going to put him in my sheet. I think he's a great GPP play this week because nobody will be on him. But I talked about Kirko at the top of the show. I'm going to go Drake London. He's one of my absolute favorite plays on the entire slate. He's kind of taken over that like Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson type role for Kirk Cousins, where he's going to get 10 plus targets every single game. And the really big thing for me in this game is that Carolina has been killed by the big wide receivers, right? The Mike Evans, Jamar Chase, even Quentin Johnson, I think, had 2 touchdowns against them. So that profile in this game is Drake London. So I'm going to be all over him this week, especially in my Kirko stacks.
Yep, I love that call. I have Drake London as well, and it's a great matchup overall. So yeah, good call.
Lock it in.
Yeah.
All right, I may, after the last 2 weeks, I may have to change that lock it in to fade of the week because my locks have not been very good. I had Brandon Ayuk 2 weeks ago. I had DK Metcalf last week. But this week it is Chris Godwin at 6.9 going up to New Orleans. And, we talk about it a lot, the FTN cornerback wide receiver matchup. Godwin has the top matchup on the slate. Technically, it was a 49er that had the best matchup, but of course they were on the Thursday slate. And then Malik Neighbors would have had the best matchup, but of course he's not playing. So by default, Godwin has the best matchup rating. And we've hit on, I think, 4 out of the 5 weeks. The 1 week that we didn't hit was DK Metcalf last week. So I'm going right back to the well there. Godwin, we know Mike Evans has struggled against New Orleans in the past. He has that sort of matchup on the outside with Marshawn Lattimore that's been sort of pubbed. Godwin's going to eat in the slot. I think the cornerback he's going up against is Alontae Taylor, who struggled in coverage. I think it's a Godwin week, right? It's kind of like, which week is it? Is it a Mike Evans week? Where the last couple weeks were Mike Evans weeks? I think this week got Godwin week at 6.9. All right, we still got a ton of receivers to get to. So, Gerson, give me another one of your guys.
Sorry, I was looking at my stats.
Gerson wasn't ready. Sorry, Gerson.
No, not really. So Terry McLaurin, for sure, is going to be one of my top wide receivers. 6.4K. He's still pretty underpriced. The guy is actually getting peppered. Finally, he's a wide receiver 1, right? I think to Jaden Daniel brought him out. I get Jim Harbaugh. Have had a good defense against a rookie quarterback, but I don't think I remember Jim Harbaugh pass defense being this bad in recent years. So this is the worst pass defense I've seen in the Jim Harbaugh era, I would say. So Terry McLaurin in this matchup, it's a good game environment. I think it's the second highest total next to the Cowboys, I believe. I might be wrong though.
Yeah, they're
I think they're both 52.5 last I looked. So yeah.
Yeah, and Jaden Daniel also has the upside to, if you stack him with McLaurin to get that rushing upside, that stack can just go off, And then Zach Ertz, I think Josh mentioned him. You can do a double stack. Don't play anybody but McLaurin. I don't trust any of the other wide receivers for the Washington Commanders. Just stay within those 2 guys, especially against the Ravens. The Ravens, but it's gonna be fun. I've heard a lot of hype out of this game. It's gonna be a lot of. I bet Geoff have heard that on the radio all weeks too. So, but yeah, I love McLaurin. F1 McLaurin. Let's go, baby.
All right, so we are going to get short on time there. So I'm just going to mention the rest of the guys that we had on the list. Deontay Johnson. Josh and I both had Deontay Johnson. Gerson's got Marvin Harrison Jr. on there. And Amon-Ra St. Brown at 8.1, which I love that play as well. Tim's got Zay Flowers, again, in that high total game. And Tank Dell, I like Tank Dell at 6.2 with Nico out. I think this could be the Tank Dell breakout week. So Tank Dell is in play as well. Let's move down into the salary savers, Tim, and give me one of your guys.
Yeah, I'm going to take Jalen Tolbert. Again, I mentioned Dak at the top of the show. He's my stack of the week. Spoiler alert. But one thing, Detroit, we mentioned their pass funnel. They also give up a ton to wide receiver twos. And so that's kind of why I'm going for Jalen Tolbert here. I think he's going to have a really good game. You know, he had 10 targets. Like, if you looked at that game against Pittsburgh, it was Jalen Tolbert they went to in crunch time. So you see he's got that connection with Dak. Ever since Brandon Cooks went down, 8 targets for 5K, I'm going to take that every week.
Yeah, agreed. Josh, what you got for one of your salary savers?
I just want to add that you could say that Jalen Tolbert really nutted up on that last play.
How
that all worked out last week. So, but I'll stay in the same game, and I'll go GPP special here and say Kevontae Turpin. I mean, maybe I've just got my spring football colored glasses on as a guy who loves watching the USFL, XFL, and now UFL. He's dynamic, and he's not ever going to be a full-time player, but he's got 0.29 targets per route run this season. He lives in the slot. He's dynamic. He's a big play threat, and the Lions have faced the second highest slot target rate this year at 41.7%. So at 3.8K, I believe it is, he's got a low bar to clear for value, and they do get him the occasional manufactured touches in the red zone too. So, I mean, he's a guy who could find Pater on a run even, or a screen pass.
Yep.
So I really like him as a sneaky part of a chalky game.
Good.
Yep.
Love that. Gerson, give us one of your salary savers.
Darnell Mooney. The guy, I mean, if you're ready to put Darnell Mooney and Drake London game to game, it doesn't really look that much different. I mean, the guy is finally getting peppered. And screw you, Darnell Mooney, because I used you as a sick call, and that was the 1 week you actually did bad, you punk.
That's right.
But no, I mean, we saw the game, and he could have had 3 touchdowns, right? Because we had 3 touchdowns on that Thursday night game, but he dropped one that he was wide open and could have just taken it. But yeah, 5.3K. We've always been fans of him, me and Geoff, I'm pretty sure, because we play fantasy football. But the thing is, he just wasn't in the right offense, and this is the right offense for him. 5.3K, he's going to get peppered with target in a great game environment.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, just recently put out a TikTok because I did a show back in July talking about Darnell Mooney and how much I liked him this year. He was essentially free in fantasy football. And I looked at my rosters for best ball and for my redraft leagues, and he's my highest owned player. So I'm crushing it right now in those leagues with Darnell Mooney. So yeah, great call there. So the 2 guys that I have, I put in there earlier in the week, and things have changed now, and it potentially couldn't be as good. But Alec Pierce was one that I had in there. That's before I knew Pittman was going to play through this back injury. So I don't know if I liked Alec Pierce call quite as much. Downs is still questionable as well. So if Downs is out, maybe Pierce is still in play. And then Dontavian Wicks as sort of a post-hype guy. Like last week we hyped him up. He busted. I like to play those guys the next week because sometimes they end up popping off the next week. But now we're learning that Christian Watson could potentially play, which would kill his value. My salary savers are really dependent on news come Sunday morning, and those are my 2 guys. I'll just list off any other guys that we had on there. Let's see. Actually, I think we got to all of them. Right?
Yeah.
Yep. All right, let's get to the defenses.
Defense.
And since we always lead with defense with Tim, I'm just going to go ahead and double drop this one.
Yeah.
It's
real easy, folks. This week, you're going to save money, and you're going to play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against Spencer Rattler because he's going to have at least 1 interception, if not more. Like, this is not a game script. Like, I know Alvin Kamara is projecting really well. I noticed none of us had us, by the way, on our list.
Yeah.
I don't see it going that way. I see this as a game where the Bucs get up early and Spencer Rattler has to drop back and throw 40 times. And that sets up as such a good spot for the Buccaneers. As I mentioned, they were bad against Bo Nix, but Bo Nix showed he could actually run a little bit, and that's kind of what messed him up in that game. Spencer Rattler is not going to run. We talked about it in the Bucky Irving segment. It's 8K with Bucky Irving. Just lock it in, take the value, and figure out the rest of your lineup.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, if you're at least in cash, I think that's the way to go. If you're playing tournaments, I think there are a couple of good spots for defenses here to pivot because a lot of times chalky defenses don't work out. But I feel like this is one of those spots where you just kind of, lock it in and move on.
Yeah, I literally only put one defense, and that was the one I had. So let's go to you, Josh. You have a different defense you want to talk about?
I teased them a little bit earlier. I'll say in GPPs, I like Tennessee because they're right in the same salary bucket as the Bucs, so you're getting another cheap defense. Yeah. I like them a lot more when the Colts look like the walking wounded and Michael Pittman Jr. was rumored to be going to the IR. Josh Downs hadn't practiced through Thursday. I mean, when it looked like they were down 2 receivers plus Jonathan Taylor, they look better. But if that throws some ownership off, then all the better, because it's not like Anthony Richardson isn't prone to making mistakes and setting up the defense for some havoc to create. So I do think that they're a fun pivot from the Bucs while also still saving you some salary.
Yeah. Like Gerson, what about you? What do you got for a different defense?
I mean, I like all those defense, but Pittsburgh Steelers defense, I mean, Ada O'Connell ain't the solution, bud. I said it last week. I said it every week. I'm a real Raider fan too. I ain't those Raider fan that's gonna be like, oh yeah, this is Raider Nation. Yeah. I'll tell you when it's Raider Nation, but I'll be real. Like, how did you expect to come into the season with 2 backup quarterbacks and win? Like, come on. Dude, whoever. Damn, man. But yeah, Pittsburgh Steelers 3.7K. That's probably the defense I'll be paying up for if I do pay up for one. Sure. But I mean, the Tampa Bay defense is just like a given. It's there, man. Like, and the other thing is, Todd Bowles is very, very smart at pressuring quarterback that is just
he's gonna get after him for sure.
He's gonna go after.
He's not gonna sit back and play cover 2 the whole time.
No, he don't need to.
It's not happening.
Yeah, I will mention the other defense that Gerson has there because I do like them as well. They're a little bit more expensive. But Houston Texans, I mentioned it earlier, have the highest pressure rate in the league. They blitzed Caleb Williams, rookie quarterback, 47% of the time. So almost half of the snaps they blitzed him. They got a rookie quarterback again in Drake May starting this week. So at 3.6, if you wanted to pay up for a defense that could break the slate and be one of those where they get 2 touchdowns, either from fumbles or from interceptions, I think the Texans are definitely viable for sure. And Josh also has Green Bay there going with the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals are traveling across the country. Green Bay's defense has been hit or miss, but I think with Arizona coming into town, I think they're going to be fine at home. So
we'll go with opportunistic, Geoff.
There you go. That's the word I was looking for. I like it. All right, let's get to our stacks.
GoingFor2.com's weekly stack report.
And this week, looking at the stacks, I think this is the first time that we all kind of got really different stacks. I think there's been a couple of weeks in a row where like there wasn't a lot of options for stacks. Where this week, there's all kinds of options.
There's some great stacks this week, 100%.
Josh, why don't you kick us off here with your stack?
I will fully admit that this is actually my second favorite stack, but I didn't want to steal from the show sheet when there was another stack that I liked a lot that's on there. I won't ruin that, but I'll just piggyback on that a little later. But I'll go with Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Kevontae Turpin as a pivot from Jake Ferguson, and a bring back of Jahmyr Gibbs.
I love it. That's a great stack right there. I love the Turpin throw in there too, because that's going to save you that salary. And if he has that big play, like I hope he gets, that's a good call. Love it. Let's go, Tim. What you got for yours?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Jaden Daniels. He breaks the streak and balls out against the Ravens. Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, and Zach Ertz, like the cheap pivot at tight end. And then bringing it back with Josh's sick call, King Henry.
Nice. And you mean his lock of the week, you mean?
Oh, yes. What did I say? Sick call? Yes, his lock of the week. Yes.
Yep.
It's Derrick Henry, the sick call. Oh boy.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, Gerson, what you got for your stack?
I'm going to the Green Bay game, obviously. I mean, I talked about it. Love, Reed, Tucker Kraft, and Marvin Harrison Jr. I do want to say this. I know all these stacks that we had, but that Cousins stack looks very good too. So
it does.
Yep, absolutely. All right, my stack, I mentioned at the top that I do like C.J. Stroud a lot, so I'm going Stroud, Tank Dell, Dalton Schultz at tight end, and bringing it back with Antonio Gibson, the check down king. I think you can flip Stephon Diggs in there as well. We didn't talk about Stephon Diggs, but I think you can put him in the stack as well. And then I also have another option, and that'll bring us right into our sick calls.
There you go.
And now, the sick call of the week.
So usually I don't go first here, but since it was part of my stack potential bring back, Jalen Polk at 3.6. If you watch preseason or play preseason DFS like I do every year, I almost sometimes wish that preseason DFS was 6 weeks long or 7 weeks long. I crush it in the preseason. But
Jeff would have about 3 laptops.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
You'd be the only weirdo. You'd be the only weirdo in the whole United States to be doing it too.
Hey, that's the whole point. I got that edge because nobody else wants to do it. No one wants to put in the work. I'll put in the work. So
hey, that money spends the same, man. That money spends the same.
Absolutely. So yeah, Jalen Polk at 3.6 with Drake May getting the start. You know, he's got a huge arm. He looked Polk's way quite a bit in the preseason. You know, he's going to be under a lot of pressure, so hopefully he can get the ball down the field a few times to Jalen Polk at 3.6 because I am the only one on the show that has not
hit yet.
Not hit on the sick call all year. So it's I got some guys that have hit eventually. Like I have Darnell Mooney as my week 1 sick call. Yeah. He's been really good ever since, and I had Jordan Whittington who's been pretty decent too. But unfortunately, I was either a week early or a week late on all of them. But Jalen Polk is my guy this week at 3.6. Tim, why don't you go next?
Yeah, so the reason that I said Derrick Henry sick call is because my sick call was part of my stack, and that is Mr. Rashad Bateman. The only way I was able to create a Jaden Daniels stack that I actually liked and still fit in somebody like a CD Lamb is by fading Derrick Henry and going with Rashad Bateman. So, yeah, man, I created a Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, CD Lamb, Zach Ertz, Rashad Bateman lineup that I'm absolutely going to throw in some big single entry.
Nice. I love it. Good stuff. Gerson, you have a name there that's I don't know if he's been mentioned on the show at all this year, but I know he was a big dynasty type tight end there. So talk about your guy.
Yeah, I mean, so this is regarding news though. So Jatavian Sanders, tight end out of Texas. Guy's he's at the combine he didn't show he was an athletic freak, but if you watch football, when you watch him, he moves very, very well. Only thing is, if Ian Thomas is not activated from the injured reserve and Tommy Tremble has already been ruled out with a concussion, I'm gonna have a lot of Jatavian Sanders. And right now he's very lowly owned. But I bet you if they say Jatavian Sanders is gonna start and Ian Thomas is out, in that game environment, that's how you're gonna get really, really cheap. You know, obviously, I just love how nobody mentioned Kyle Pitts. That's kind of funny. I just realized that. But yeah, Jatavian Sanders 2,600, and on a slate like this, if I get only 5 points from my tight end, which has been the most volatile position, I'm not gonna lose sleep because it allowed me to pay up for my stack. It allowed me to pay up for. I'm coming this close to making the whole roster that we have with our lock of the week, but it's making it really hard with Derrick Henry, Bucky Irvin, and B. John Robinson. But I'm almost there, guys.
We're gonna get there.
Good stuff. All right, Josh, close us out here with your sick call.
Well, we're going to go right back to that Carolina offense, and I'm going to get real sick and say undrafted free agent from Holy Cross, Jalen Coker, and relative athletic score freak show. 4 receptions on 4 targets last week. 2 of them did come from Bryce Young in mop-up time, but he was playing the 2-minute drill before the half last week, and Dave Canales had the cojones to bench last year's #1 overall pick. So should it really be that shocking if Coker's running ahead of Jonathan Mingo this week? And if he is, he's going to be doing so as a big-bodied athletic slot against a team that's faced the second highest slot target rate this year at 3K. If he catches 3 for 60 or at 2 times, he finds the end zone, boom, it's flipped off.
I love it. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah. Call out some of the sick calls in the chat because I forget sometimes that we put this on audio, and the audio people don't get to see the sick calls in the chat. But Mickey's got Foster Moreau with a touchdown this week. That's his sick call. Brian's got his sick call as Humphreys from Denver. Oh, he picked a couple here. Noah Brown from Washington.
He also had
Polk. It's Brian, dude. You don't got to mention all of them. It's Brian.
Sick calls.
He's just playing all the sick calls. Yeah, so got some good sick calls in the chat there. Love it, guys. Appreciate it. All right, fellas, that wraps up the podcast tonight. I want to thank you, Josh, for coming on, man. Really appreciate it. Definitely want to get you back on, man. I think you've been awesome tonight. Some great plays, some great information. If you want to tell my listeners one more time where we can find your stuff at, and give us your Twitter handle as well.
First of all, thank you for having me on. This was a blast. Listening to you guys before, I knew this was the right environment for me to hop on. Just having some fun with some dudes, chopping it up. So can't go wrong with that. You can find my work over at FantasyPros, Betting Pros, and Props.com. And my Twitter handle is at BChad50.
Stuff. Tim.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Keto DFS. Most of the time I'm on Facebook. You can find me in the DFS Roundtable or DraftKings group.
Good stuff. And Gerson?
Yeah, you can find me at Fantasy GDFS on Twitter, and then the Roundtable group. And then it's every Friday here. Maybe not next Friday, though. I think I'm taking the week off.
You can't miss episode 400. I don't care who's the guest on the show, even if you don't like it.
No, it's going to be a party next week, y'all, so you'll want to be here.
Yeah, for sure. I'll go ahead and just plug it now. We're going to have Jared. He's in the chat a lot. He's been around Going for Two for quite a while. One of our favorite guests, one of our first guests that we ever had. We did the show for so long with no guests. It was just the three of us, and he was one of the first guests to come on. So fitting that he gets to come on for episode 400.
Oh, you forgot my brother? Did Jason not exist no more? That's
Jason?
rude, dude.
I said one of the first guests.
Yeah. No, what I want to call out while we're on the subject is that you've done 400 episodes of this show, and throughout 400 episodes, Jared is still doing the show on his phone. So some things never change.
Yeah, he'll be here next week with his phone in his hand and his headphones attached to his phone, just like
100%.
Love it. All right, and as always, guys, make sure you check out the Discord. It's free. We got, like I mentioned many times before, over 2,000 members in the Discord. We got 50 fantasy coaches offering advice. We do DFS, we do season long, we do prop bets, we do betting, the whole nine. It's free to join. It'll be linked in the YouTube description. It'll also be in my Twitter handle, and of course, you can find it over at GoingFor2.com. For Josh, for Tim, for Gerson, I am Geoff. Good luck this weekend, gentlemen, and we will see y'all next week, episode 400.
Go Pack, go!